Good evening, dear astronomy community. It is Monday, January 27, 2025. Yes. And welcome to our weekly Astro Cafe. And we're going to start with some astrophotography from Brock. Go for it.
You guys see what I think I'm sharing?
Yeah, I see a bunch of planets.
Yeah, this is just that actually I took these within 2 nights on last weekend, so I've never been able to do that before. So that was pretty fun. I've got up in the upper left, of course, Venus and Mars, and of course Jupiter and Io. And then down there, Saturn, rather blurry, sad-looking Saturn. And then Uranus, which I've never had any hope of getting before either. So,
why was Uranus better this week than other times?
Well, not that I've never had any hope. I've just never bothered because all the big hubbub about this being an unusual thing, and I thought I'll try to get everything. So,
Are they
for the
all
life of me, I couldn't find Neptune.
Right.
Are they all to scale, Brock?
Pretty close, yeah. They must be by just pixel. Like I didn't do any additional scaling, so same sensor. So
yeah, no, that's neat.
Well, Saturn would be a little bit bigger.
Well, Saturn's rings are about the same size as Jupiter.
Yeah, it's possible there's a bit of scaling in there.
Yeah.
And then last night I went back out and I got this one.
Oh, GRS.
So
wow,
the spot was out, and then I got another one a little later.
White spot that just flared up in the north.
That one.
I don't know much about it, but Christopher Go's been talking about it in the Facebook.
I'll have to check out. Maybe I won't look at his pictures. It'll make me feel better.
Can you talk a little bit more about that white spot and show me where it is? Is it the one kind of middle up on top there?
It could be that spot there. I haven't checked Christopher's post, so
yeah, it's a small white spot that's going along that northern band, and it's a new storm.
Okay,
it's a new storm. Okay,
yeah.
How long did these storms last? Not the great red spot, but a normal storm.
Weeks, just weeks.
Oh, that's
interesting. And then I also got another one of Mars. So
that's spectacular, Brock.
Wow.
Seeing has been really good.
Yeah, Brock, did you take those with your Edge?
Yeah.
We've had some amazing visual views as well. Yeah, it's been very good for Mars.
The best view I've had was up with Bill's telescope on Saturday. I'd never ever seen Mars like that.
Absolutely.
I wandered up to the parking lot. I heard something about Bill being there, and I took a break from messing with the Dobbs and went up, and I was just like, oh my God. I was just looking in this, like it literally looked as good as the photo. Like you could see all that detail. You could see the polar cap really clear, and it was a treat.
Yeah. It seemed almost over bright. Actually, it was so bright in his Dobb, right?
Well, it collects a lot of light.
Yeah.
F3 and
that's a question. Between a processed picture of a planet and a big bucket good quality telescope, just visual. What are the differences?
Well, I think it'll depend on how well your brain integrates images. I think computers are probably better at that than we are. Yeah, I mean, the processing, the lucky imaging part is a big factor, I think.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say, Brock?
I would say so, although I have to say the sense of awe, you can't, no picture you're going to take is going to be the same as actually seeing it like when the seeing's good and you're looking through a big scope like
Mhm.
that, and you're just like, it's pretty spectacular. Like,
Yeah, there seems to be that point where if it's not moving around a lot, your brain is perfectly capable of integrating what you're seeing, and that's probably when it's best, I think.
yeah.
Dave is muttering next to me. Why don't you say that loud for everybody?
No, absolutely. The seeing makes a big difference, not just the size of the instrument. But your brain, I always, when I have newbies come up to the scope, I make them stand there and look at Jupiter or Mars for quite a while, because your brain does integrate those images.
Yeah.
You score the longer you look, if the sky is reasonably stable.
We're not
I had
replaceable.
on
We're not
Saturday-
replaceable yet.
On Saturday up at the Star Party, and numerous times I actually had to tell someone, no, don't, like people would come up and you'd have it trained on Jupiter or something, and somebody would come up and they'd look, and then they'd like have a 1 second look, and it's like, stop, no, take a moment, just soak it in. You'll start to see it way better if you just sort of let your brain adjust and they go, oh, okay. Because some people were just, it was like, they're just, I don't know why, they just wanted this real quick glance. You can't really seem to process it and absorb it.
That's a really good point, Brock. I mean, we really should be reminding people of the integration capability of the human brain. Like, yeah, we're not replaceable yet, not totally.
Yeah. Well, the other side is that you're walking around in the dark, and then you poke your eye into an eyepiece with this blazing bright Jupiter, and it just burns your eyeball, right? Like it's too much, and you got to let your eye adjust. And then you can start to make out the detail. And
one of the big reasons for sketching is it forces you to spend time looking for a long time.
And to discern while you're looking.
Yeah. They really look at this big crowd here today. I think there's more people in the room than there are out there. And there's some that I don't know. I'm wondering.
They're bringing cookies.
And they bring cookies, yes.
Yeah.
Very welcome.
If there are new people, either out there in the internet or here, and you're willing to, I'd love to hear your name and why you're interested in being here. So let's start with you. Hello.
So I'm Tony Down.
Hi, Tony.
I'm down from Campbell River.
Oh, yeah.
So I've just joined the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada, and I'm a member of the Victoria chapter.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, so Randy, I see Randy's name there.
That's me.
Oh, that's you. I got an email from you, and I'm a little late because my first time here, and I wandered around down the side of the Astronomy Cafe. Next time I'll be using here. But I wanted to come down. I didn't want to join on Zoom because I thought it'd be nice to, meet the warm bodies and then Zoom next time. So I've been I was a professional astronomer for a year.
1 year.
For 1 year. And the longest title I've ever had. I was an astronomical site testing assistant.
Okay.
So my job was with other people to find a new location for the South African Republic Observatory. And so we hunted around various parts of South Africa, looking for city lights, no dust, 395 clear sky lights, and things like that. No temperature inversion. And so
you did that for 1 year, and then you left?
I did that for a year, yeah. Well, I was planning to go to university, so I went and did civil engineering. But I've been interested in astronomy, ever since.
Well, that's fantastic.
When I was 12, I used to wander down to the planetarium in Johannesburg for meetings. I used to sit there and wonder what the hell was going on. But I used to sit there and listen to them. And so I recently bought a telescope, which I can't put together. So
we have very clever people here who love helping.
Well, I was kind of happy about it here.
After this part of the Astro Cafe, I will introduce you to a couple.
So I'm semi-retired, and I'm keen to get integrated with you guys. Thanks for being so welcome.
Margie.
Your name is Tony?
Tony, yes.
Tony, do you know another Campbell River member of RASC by the name of Jude and let's see, Angione, Antio.
But I would like to.
Okay, fortunately, you're sitting right next to our membership chair, and he might be able to help you.
I asked because Jude emailed, is coming to the RASC dinner on February 24th, emailed me today and asked for if there was anyone who could give a ride. So Jude is coming to the Sandman Hotel to stay overnight, and Jeff has very kindly offered to give Jude a ride to and from the 4 Mile Pub. So I just thought, well, there are apparently 2 of you from Campbell River.
Thank you for that. Sorry, what was your name?
Margie.
Margie.
The J. The J, okay.
Yeah. It is there, but it's very hard to read.
It's hard to read. Yeah, well, thanks for that.
Okay, and next to Alex, I don't recognize you.
Oh, me.
Yes.
Yes, I'm Marcella.
Hi, Marcella.
Nice to meet you. I used to attend Astronomy Cafe when I was in high school, so I just came back because I've been missing you guys. So yeah,
that's awesome. How long ago was that?
Not as I mean, 12 years ago.
I was gonna say you look like you could still be in
Very casual.
That's right. We're mature.
I'm glad you did. And you're familiar, but I forget your name.
Chris.
You're Chris.
Yeah, I'm back and forth from the territories, so.
Oh, that's why I remember
I have a
you.
place in Sioux, so I come when I'm down.
Okay.
So if you see a Northwest Territories license plate, that's him.
Oh, you got the bear thing.
He does.
I love
That's
that.
right, yeah.
Okay.
Randy, could you put both those people's faces into closer to the camera because we can't see them online.
No, I think that would be trouble.
Yeah, not easily. The room's full today. I think there's
Yes,
16 of us.
16 in this room.
Yeah.
Yes.
We beat the Ethernet this time. Wow, the internet. Okay, I am now going to give the floor over to David Lee for a whole bunch of different topics. So you organize what you're going to talk about as you will.
Okay, well, first of all, I'll just give a bit of a status of the VCO. As many of you know, our computer at the Victoria Observatory, Center Victoria Observatory, actually died unceremoniously. Reg, was it during the comet search that it happened, or I can't remember.
Episode, David, and I'm still wounded from it. It occurred 2nd of October, and we were just poised to look at the comet through the beautiful Takahashi refractor, and the computer pulled the pin and shut it after days of cloudy weather. Right?
So anyways, I want to thank the council for so wonderfully coming up with releasing some cash for us because we actually have a wonderful new computer. It hasn't been without its challenges, but it's a really good computer, and the challenges have really been with the software. And the software, as you probably well know, was installed over the years by Matt and Dan, and everything that they did was like a summary of stuff that happened on that PC. Well, I'm not privy to all the things that they did, so I kind of basically started from scratch. But that was okay. We kind of start with a clean slate, and we've been building it up, and we've had a few hiccups. But
David,
I'm proud.
Can you go through all the people in we?
Oh, you mean currently what we've been? Oh, well, Reg and I have been working on it mostly, and Gary Sedan actually is offering his services to do the T-point pieces, and CJ, wherever CJ is, yes, CJ, I'm hoping he's going to be our kind of right-hand person to do with wiring and stuff because he has a bit of an experience with that. So I'm not the best wiring person, but I think he is. So I think that's great. Okay, so in the meantime, while we've been sort of assembling the PC, we've had this beautiful stretch of good weather, and Reg would consult with me, and he said, "David, should we let some people up tonight too?" And I said, "Well, I don't see why not." And we did, and even though we had kind of software stuff to do, we actually had the computer running within the first few sessions. So it was navigating more or less, except for the almost crash, which we suspended, and it was okay. So we were never in danger, as I mentioned in past sessions. Anyways, so we were able to actually show people things. And of course, there's this wonderful planetary parade. So when we were able to, we went through all the planets. So I don't know if anybody wants to comment on some of the views, but we're also doing kind of comparative stuff. Like we have more than the Takahashi up there in the OGS 12.5-inch scope. Like we have a very large 20-inch Dobsonian, and we have a recently recollimated 12.5 Dobsonian as well. So those were all engaged. We had them running so that we could do comparisons of M42, some of the planets. Marvelous. It was really, really exciting. I have never seen so many people up at the VCO, actually. It just, I don't know why Wyman brought some friends, and I, I met Terry again, who I worked with a long time ago, but I still remember, and he showed up in the parking lot, and I barely recognized him because it was dark, but I recognized his voice. So that's great. We've got some new members as well. Wyman, did you take some pictures some of these evenings?
Yeah, I did. I just sent it to you and Reg. Did you receive them?
I haven't looked, but maybe Reg can look on his.
Yeah.
I've received them. Can you share them, Wyman?
No. It's sent on a different computer. Yeah, it's not as easy for me to share them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, I mean, maybe we don't have to look at them tonight, but anyways, it was a great amount of fun. We were sort of troubleshooting by committee. I don't know if this is always the best way, but we did solve a lot of the problems we had, and I think everybody had a good time. Wyman, did you hear any feedback from Terry and Denise?
Yeah, they really enjoyed it. Yeah, the reason why Terry was there because he actually joined that day as part of the RASC because his wife Denise works with my wife, and so we were telling Denise that hey, got this new hobby. We're going up back up astronomy and things like that. She got really interested. Hey, why don't you come along and join? So she joined. So and brought Terry. That was great. Great to share with other people.
Yeah, that's great, and we've had lots of new members like CJ and lot of regular members as well. But I think I think a good time has been had by all. We've been making some progress in getting the VCO back to maybe even better than it was before. So, do you have anything to add to that, Reg?
I'm just downloading the photos now, and I might be able to try and show them to people.
Okay, all right. Does anybody have any questions about the VCO?
Can you please go through the steps to be
active observer, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the trick. We have a land use agreement with the NRC, and as part of the requirement for us to host these VCO sessions, we have to make sure that people are aware of the safety issues associated with the hill. So there is some stuff you have to read, and Joe, correct me if I'm wrong. Some or maybe all of the material is actually on our website. Is that correct?
They're on the members only page.
Yep.
And it's in a section there called something like observing at the Victoria Centre Observatory. And there's a little paragraph of instructions as to what to do.
Right. So from there, you could get onto this list.
Right. Well, essentially, the instructions say read the 3 documents.
And it's a lot about fire, don't
There's one,
yes.
One is the land use, and I can't remember what the other one is. I'll look it up. And then the other thing is to send me an email at membership@victoria.rasc.ca confirming you have read those 3 documents, and I can add you to the list. So we had a record-setting time with Terry and Denise because they joined the observers list within under 24 hours.
Wow, that's service.
From the university, so she contacted me to let me know she joined. I told her what to do via a text. By the morning, their emails were there to say they read the documents. We were done.
It used to be there was a test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
Okay, and for the crowd that doesn't know, the National Research Council is giving us a very generous deal. First of all, we have a relatively dark site right in the city, so that's excellent. And so they gave us the land to build our observatory on, and it's a roll-off roof. And inside there is a very good mount with 2 telescopes piggybacked on it. And they also give us electricity. They give us security, which I gather is a huge problem in other centers. We have a fence around, and we have commissionaires that wander around, and they give us internet. So it's an amazing deal. We are extremely fortunate. Not all the 30 centers across Canada can say they have anything like the deal that we get here, because there is the professional astronomers. One of Canada's premier sites is right here in our area. Shauna, I see a hand.
Yes, I wonder, where is it? So it's different from the center of the universe. Sorry for not knowing this.
It's just before the center of the universe. When you're coming up, there's a little side road and a gate, and we're actually down the hill from there. Not very far.
David, I don't think you should disclose this information until people have taken that test and signed up.
All right. Okay, you got a hint.
Yeah, so it's all on the same National Research Council property. So.
Okay, I assume that. So it's locked usually, is it?
Well, the gate is closed at night. Yes, it is. It's open during business hours on weekdays, I believe.
You're talking about the gate at the bottom of the hill.
The gate at the bottom of the hill, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
And then there's a little side gate down to our space, which is, I think, always left closed so that people driving up the hill do not go down that side road.
Right.
And there is a smaller observatory in use on that road. That's the first building you pass. And then they actually have a dormitory building up there where visiting astronomers can stay. And then we're at the end of that little side road.
So you organize viewing sometimes? Is that right, David?
Yeah. So what happens is an announcement. So once you become a member of the Active Observers distribution, what happens is if somebody is willing to host, now there is this terminology called a MIC, which means member in charge. So currently, the main people are myself, Reg, and Chris Pearce, and we will be adding in a new mix as time progresses. And they are responsible for meeting people at the gate because not everybody has a gate code, right? So we would give a preface. We usually remind you to dress warmly and things like that. And then we usually caravan up to the top.
So you first have to pass the active.
Yeah, you have to comply with the requirements of the Active Observers group.
And how do you do that? Not that I'm in a rush. I just want to be clear.
Well, it's not that difficult. Just go to the website, like it was suggested, and there are a few documents that you have to read, and then you have to confirm with Chris Pearce that you have done so, and then he will add you to the list.
Thank you.
Just going to do a little Google Earth.
And I think Joe.
I just did that. Yeah, I see it.
So here's
the
Little Saanich Hill and the windy road going up. And there's the big Plaskett Dome. And so as you're going up, then you turn off here. Here's the mosquito pond. And that is the little telescope, little meaning something like 48 inch. And it is actually more busy than the Plaskett Dome because it's completely automated. So astronomers all over the world can use this telescope. And I've been in there, and in the basement, the light somehow winds its way down into this room, and the whole room is the spectrograph. And you can actually walk in there during the day. They don't let people in there very often because any change in temperature takes hours for it to cool down and get stable. But then it does the most amazing spectrograph. So this is the most busy telescope on the hill. Anyway, you keep going down. And there's this little parking lot here, but some people park up at the top. And then here's our observatory. Oopsie. Come back. How do I've lost it. Okay. Forget it. I'm going.
That was a brief flash. That's all we should allow them to see.
That's exactly true.
You have to pass the test to see that more. I don't know what just happened. But it's great. It doesn't see 360 degrees. Like, what is it? It's not good in the east.
It has a really good westerly view, which means that events that have to do with the moon and stuff are pretty good. And it's got a semi-okay north, probably a north westerly view. And then the south is not too bad, but the east is a washout. Lots of trees.
I think it's a lovely site, but not everybody can view absolutely everything. It's not 360 degrees, but it is dark enough, and if there isn't any skies aren't bleached by moonlight, you frequently can see the Milky Way, so it's dark enough.
Yeah, and certainly circumpolar stuff, directly above is always available. So the Milky Way in the spring is pretty amazing. So we'll see that span the sky. So that's quite cool, and it is one of the few places where you definitely do see the Milky Way. So on a moonless night, you definitely see the Milky Way.
Dave here.
And for those who have their own telescope and want to take it to a dark site, you can go up on the parking lot right beside the Plaskett, and you get a much better southern view of the sky, a little light blue from the city. But quite often people will go up and visit both places.
Yep. And people often image from the parking lot as well. It's a little less crowded.
Okay, there's another thing which hasn't happened since I became a member, is a Messier marathon. But I know that people used to do if there was a clear night in March. Is there
it's optimal in the spring because you have to do it all in one night, right? So you have to do it in an ordered fashion. But it is doable. People have done it. Just we haven't done it recently.
But David, don't you have to move around to certain places on the hill to get everything in?
Yes, you do.
You do. Yes, you do. You can't see it from the one vantage point.
So you need to be at the top. You also need to go down beside that new assembly building. There's another area
Yes.
there that sees what east quite well, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I see a lot of certificate people here, so I'm sure people are probably going to be up for the challenge.
So does anybody remember the last time the Victoria Center did a Messier marathon?
Well, Michelle was still here, and I just can't remember when he was there.
Okay.
The problem is that March is just usually, again, kind of an awful month for looking things. So we've actually, I remember trying to say, okay, let's do this. This is the night we're going to do it. And it's just an awful night and everybody does something else. So March is a bit tricky, but it's the only time that can be done.
If you want a real challenge, there's a friend of mine in Edmonton who did a double marathon. He traveled to Australia and overnight he went the marathon, and in between observing objects, he actually ran a marathon.
He's done it twice. He did it in Hawaii,
yeah,
and he did it in Australia with the southern things. But that's not a normal.
No.
No, that's showing off.
I'm going to pass the speaking stick to Reg.
I'm going to try and share the screen. Could somebody allow me to do that?
It should be allowed.
Should be allowed.
Yeah. There we go. It's coming up.
Okay.
Nice photo.
So these are
Yeah.
Wyman. And here we have Susan writing down some notes. She did some observations and had a neat project out there using her binoculars and her cell phone. I think she took pictures of the sky and then tried to relate the objects that she got in her cell phone. She's got a really good cell phone. Gets lovely pictures. She explores it with the binoculars, and I think she had a lot of fun doing that. I'll just point out that this is the pier for our telescope, and it has a very robust and rather costly mount, which is the key to the whole thing. There's a 12.5-inch Ritchie-Chrétien Cassegrain telescope here with an automatic focuser, and it's a research grade scope, although it's kind of dented and beaten up a bit. And we have a pristine Takahashi 5-inch refractor here that used to belong to Mike Rempotic, an active member of our club who recently passed away.
Are they pointing in the same direction now?
No, not exactly.
Close.
Well, we had some adventures trying to shim it. I'm not going to go into them, but it was exciting. Okay.
I don't like that word.
Yeah. So let's see what else we got here. How do I go?
Probably an arrow key would do it.
Want to? Okay, I'll go up to the top. There we are. This is Wyman climbed up on a ladder to look down inside. You can see the scope in action with all the counterweights and everything. And this is Sandy and Denise. And that's Brenda and
my arm, I think.
Through the sleeve.
Yeah.
And then there's that shot. Here's David at the controls. And the new computer is a tiny little thing. It's this little tiny box here, and it's about the thickness of a Viva Puff. And it will easily be mounted on our telescope so we can reduce the number of wires. Currently, we have an entourage of wires that have caused us some grief, and that will be addressed. And here's the entourage of wires here. And I believe this is Denise up scaling a ladder, looking through the 20-inch Obsession Dobsonian telescope. This scope actually is equipped with setting circles to find things more easily, but we been in a mad scramble and we haven't really utilized that feature, but it has a great catalog that has over 30,000 objects that you can easily point to.
And how is it that we have such an amazing obsession telescope?
That was a donation.
That was a donation from Jan James.
Yes, so one day when I was occupied with national affairs, he or his family donated it to the National Society, but he lived on the island, so it fell into our hands. So, and that's a better part of 10 years ago that happened, I think.
We put it up there in about 2020, but it also came with a box of exquisite eyepieces as well. So
yeah, so that was a really great donation, but because it was out here, you know, our friends in Toronto or anything like that couldn't use it much.
So whenever someone from Toronto comes, we have to let them use it?
No.
No, just I
don't know.
They haven't written the test, so they
right.
We just say they donated to the society and don't say which part of it.
Well, we are part of the National Society.
Yes.
Okay.
I said which part.
Now,
It's part of
this person here, Brenda, is a proud owner of this refractor. She's got it and she has a lot of fun bringing that up. This is the 12-inch Dobsonian that through the kindness of CJ and Chris Burse, they collimated it on the last session, and it really improved the optics of it.
And behind Chris, is that the place that, no, the last picture? Can you go back? Is that where the cracks have been leveled off with the concrete?
Oh, there's
yeah, you can see them behind Chris's feet actually.
It used to be until recently we had quite a step in the concrete because it settled over time, and trying to wheel these big telescopes, and the 20 inches is pretty big, and once they encountered these little bumps or irregularities on the sidewalk, it caused all sorts of grief. So this summer, in the heat of the summer, Chris Purse went up there and hand mixed a whole pile of concrete and smoothed it all around. And it's easy now for us to wheel the Dobsonians from the dormitory, which is right behind Chris here, and they come down the hill, and this is Chris Purse Highway. So,
and just that circle pad, is that accurately north-south, the lines there?
Probably. Probably. This circle used to be the base for the 16-inch telescope that is now incorporated in the center of the universe.
Yeah, so basically the National Research Council decommissioned a dome on that site and gave us the site ultimately.
Yeah, so there we have it. And this is me looking cold. I think I'll leave it at that from there. There's one other thing that I would like to talk about. We mentioned fires earlier, and I had something that I prepared to thought I would talk about. If it's okay.
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay. This is the Mount Eaton, or pardon me, the Eaton fire in Los Angeles, and it was a huge blaze. But it came very close to some of our astronomical treasures that our cousins down south used. So, including Mount Wilson. Mount Wilson is the big brother to the 72-inch telescope. The mirrors were cast in the same place, and because the 100-inch mirror was a bit larger, it had more bubbles in it when it was cooling down, and it was a lot harder to figure. So that was one reason the 72-inch telescope came online earlier.
And by that you mean the plastic, the one in the big dome.
Game for Canada.
Yeah, so there we are. And if I zoom down here, you can see Mount Wilson here, Pasadena here, and this is the California Institute of Technology here. didn't get too close to the Eaton fire, but this is the Jet Propulsion Laboratory here. And I tried to overlay the Jet Propulsion Laboratory with the fire, and this is Jet Propulsion Laboratory here. The fire was just across the ravine. So pretty close for comfort there. And a lot of 200 people who worked at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory lost their homes. It had a really significant impact, but it came very close to wiping out the JPL, which of course is kind of one of the spiritual homes of, I would say,
planetary exploration.
Yeah, solar system exploration.
But even beyond, because they made a couple of instruments for Hubble there, so
that I was quite worried. So I just dug this up today. Nobody's saying anything about it. So let's
Yay for Canadian water bombers.
So this is a view of the 100-inch Mount Wilson and the 60-inch Mount Wilson telescope. And this is a solar scope that was set up originally a long time ago, I think. At any rate, if I move out a little bit, you can see Mount Wilson here. And there's a whole pile of TV antennas here. And we feature in the story. So if
that place had gone out, it would have affected a lot of people in Los Angeles, because they would probably not have their cell phones and TVs working.
This is the thing. The fire department, the police department, and all of the emergency services, plus the TV centers, all used the antenna on that site. And if they had lost that, it was a kind of a single point of failure. So they really, the reason that they really took care of that was not necessarily due to the historic nature.
Well, that's exactly the point I'm making.
Yeah, it was to do this thing. So it's kind of a strategy. If you've got something special, invite somebody there with the sensitive instruments to go up and see that. At any rate, here's the amount of the 100-inch Mount Wilson Hooker telescope.
Is it still in good shape? Is it active?
Yes.
Yes.
And there's a museum up there, and there are tours, and you can go on. Some people can get access to the telescopes.
It does suffer a worse issue than we have, of course, because it's within sight of Los Angeles, right? So it's become somewhat less useful in certain dimensions.
But if you want to complain about the drive up to the DAO, take that drive up there, and it's somewhat more daunting than the one we have here.
Okay, so what I have is a video of what they showed up there, a news clip, but I can't figure out how to play it without causing audio feedback here, so I just think I'll let it go. But it's an interesting thing. They talk about, mainly they talk about the communication tower stuff, and then they go in and they give a nice historical background about the Mount Wilson Observatory and this sort of stuff. It's kind of a neat thing. I could post the link if anybody wanted to see it.
Post the link. That would be good.
But it is a very historical place, because that's where Hubble took his famous images of Andromeda 100 years ago now, things like that. And it started a few months after the DAO, and for about 30 years it was the biggest thing going till Mount Palomar got going.
So I mean, this story feeds into the importance of people reading their documents about fire protection at the Victoria Centre Observatory. So take it seriously. Rock showed a nice picture of Jupiter and Io. So I pulled up this image here. This is Io taken from Juno. I can't blow it up any closer than that. This is the 68th orbit of the Juno satellite around Jupiter. And it's extended until at least the end of the fall of 2025, and it's been a spectacular success. And all of these images are downloaded. All you have to do is type in Juno mission NASA, and you can actually access the raw data. And that's what I just logged off today. But and these two were just in, but this is a little bit closer up view of IO than Brock had, but still I liked his better.
Yeah, the photography on Juno was a bit of an afterthought. You know, they were busy designing this thing with magnetometers and all sorts of wonderful instruments, but they weren't thinking about cameras. And somebody at NASA said the public will have our heads on a stick if we don't. So they just put an imager on board, but they basically have farmed out the processing to amateurs. Anybody who wants to can download the raw data and they downloaded some or processed them into some incredible images. The ones we see of the the polar regions of Jupiter with those incredible storms, those are from Juno and usually processed by somebody just processing it.
The amateurs. And there's some really good processors in England that are really took the ball and ran with it. So at any rate, I'm going to stop the share here.
Okay. Mr. Lee, do you have more stuff to add to that? To your
I don't think so, unless people want to talk about the pop-up gatherings. Maybe is Jill here? Well, Kirsten's here. So a number of us have been sort of gathering at Cattle Point. So yeah, you want to comment, Kirsten?
Yeah, I was sad to have missed the I guess the session up at the VCO over I guess that was like Saturday, I believe, and so it was wonderful or Friday or Saturday, but Sunday the skies were still forecasted to be incredible. So thanks to David for organizing a pop-up Cattle Point session on Sunday night. And despite my cold, I decided I could not go. And it was just the seeing last night was fabulous. I was very happy. I got three Messier objects. I was actually over the moon. I got M1. I got the Crab Nebula, and Jill was there to witness it. She's like, "Oh yeah, I see it." And David, you saw it as well. So that was a real nice win, getting the Crab Nebula knocked off the list. And yeah, there was quite a few people out last night actually at Cattle. Yeah.
Yeah, Matt was there imaging. Go ahead.
What does the crab look like in a small telescope?
Well, my refractor is almost 5 inches, so I wouldn't classify it quite as small, but even still, it's fair to say aperture wins. Like David had his smaller refractor out, and
I have a beautiful Teleview 76, and it has amazing resolution and contrast. But Kirsten won. Like it's just like her scope costs a fraction of what my Teleview costs, and I have to say,
it was an example of dark sky and aperture, and M1. I mean, it was funny. I mean, it was barely discernible. It was definitively there. It was like this fuzzy white patch. It was a fuzzy white patch in the area of Taurus, just above Zeta Tauri.
Yeah,
just to the right of Zeta Tauri, but it was this very distinct fuzzy patch that especially when you looked askew, So I sketched it. It's mandatory as part of the certificate program is doing the sketch. So I did all the stars and got Zeta Tauri in there and then did this little white patch. And then Jill looked at it and goes, "You exaggerated it." So, but it was definitely there. It was definitely there.
Kind of like a cotton ball, I guess.
Yeah, it was like a
Kind of
cotton
like,
ball.
yeah, a little cotton ball.
Yeah. Yeah, and I caught M43, which is a kind of a much lower magnitude nebula right beside the main nebula in Orion. So that was really cool to get M43 kind of clearly in my scope. Again, very diffuse and kind of hard to see it, but definitely there. So it was really nice, like with these dark skies and the seeing has been exceptional. Just catching some of these more obscure Messiers has been great.
Yeah, they were definitely inky black skies. They were
Yeah,
really
just
nice.
incredible. Yeah, beautiful seeing.
I wonder if Bill's here to comment on Pearson.
Oh, Bill
He's at Pearson. He's at Pearson, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, and for anybody who's been just going outside to look, I mean, congratulations of getting out and just to look. Sometimes I was kind of suggesting to people, well, just go out, even if it's for an hour, and I don't even have to say that. You have the whole evening. I mean, I can't believe how lucky we've been.
Hey, I think it's time for Lauri.
Oh, did Wyman say something or?
Yeah, I just have a quick question. As it gets darker, you see a few stars in the sky, right? The brightest one shows up first and thing.
Yeah.
Is there an app on an iPhone that will tell you, like, the first star to pop up would be this?
Well, you can on almost any planetarium program, including the mobile ones, you can set the magnitude. So just lower the magnitude so that you only see the brightest stars. So that's one way of doing it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So just magnitude setting. Okay, I'll have to look up.
Yeah. We can talk about that at the beginner's sake if you want.
Oh, perfect.
But also, the planetarium programs do have best of the evening lists, and they will pop up beside the actual chart of the night sky, and you can play them forward at a faster speed than normal and watch the sky darken, and the list will scroll up, and you'll be able to see what's available when.
Yeah.
And they all operate a little differently. Like mine, you just start checking off, show labels for the list, observing list, and the depiction will darken, and it will simulate what you're seeing. And of course, you can do this before you go out, so you have the list, and it's in order of how things will appear.
Oh, great. So a quick question. So of course, lately, Jupiter is bright, and then you see there's one star that pops up below Jupiter. What star is that one?
Aldebaran.
Aldebaran. Okay.
Yeah.
So now I know.
It's kind of like a V shape, but I'll tell you, Wyman, you have a closer look at it. It's very cool because that V is made up of pairs of stars. So look for it. Look for it in your binos.
Okay. Cool. Thanks.
Okay, before we go to Lauri, Natasha asked a super question. So what are the mobile apps that people are using? So I can start that I use Stellarium and it's super. And it's very easy to set the magnitude. And what I just love is you can point it and it tracks where you are and which way you're pointing, and it works. And if you focus right in, then you can see really good details, like when Mars is getting close to the moon. You can actually see where you are on the moon and things like that. So that's Stellarium.
Sky Safari for me.
Sky Safari?
Yep.
Sky Safari.
Sky Safari.
Yeah, Sky Safari. One of the things I liked about the Stellarium is setting your landscape up in there as well. So you take the pictures within your confines of my backyard. For example, I've got trees in certain areas, and I can go ahead and view what I can actually see tonight and advance my clocks.
So Wade, you have a custom landscape then, right?
Yes.
Right.
That's cool.
So I take a series of shots. I just put a camera on a tripod and turned it 360. Had to do that twice because the iPhone only glue half of it together, and then pulled that together inside of Photoshop, and then upload it into Stellarium. Set your coordinates and upload it into Stellarium, and you see everything in your yard and your sky.
Excellent.
Now, Wade, I'm afraid I don't know you. Are you a new member?
Yeah, I've been sort of in and out for the last 8-9 months, I guess. I've been to a couple of the meetings, and I dropped in on the sky party at the church this summer too.
Nice to have you aboard. Okay. Joe has put on Astronomy Apps and Messier on our website. Very good.
We have those.
So there you go, Natasha.
Those are links.
Yeah, they're not difficult to use. They're made very easy. I also have to say that I use, just for knowing where the moon is, Moon Calc, and the Sun Calc, SUNCALC, and that is awesome for knowing where your sunrise is going to be or where to look for the moon. So that's a thing that I use almost every day. Any other particularly good apps that people are using?
I use Star Map Pro on iOS, and Moon Atlas and Mars Globe. They are all excellent apps. First one is sort of a general planetarium, and the other one obviously is focused on the moon and Mars.
Just as a reminder, Sky and Tel has a number of kind of planet-focused atlases. There's a number of them that actually do the Jupiter's moons kind of thing for you as well. So have a look at the tools that are on Sky and Tel website.
Great.
So may I ask? I didn't raise my hand. I saw the Sky Safari, David. I went to look at it. And it costs money, right? Like $43.
There is a version that is very inexpensive, and then there is a pro version that allows you to control telescopes. So you can pick the flavor you want. If you're not controlling a telescope, you don't really have to spend that much. I think it's in the $12 range, maybe. But Stellarium, I think even the Stellarium mobile, I think costs,
Yeah. The free version. And then I don't think it's $12 even. I think it's like $5. Then
yeah, something like that. Yeah,
it's really cheap, and it's just I think they don't advertise on it.
Right. I mean, you can get a lot of things for free, but you get ads. So if you don't want the ads, then it costs you more.
Sorry.
And Starry Night Pro is also available for computers, and it's available in a variety of flavors as well, and it's a Canadian product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're kind of linked. They're the same people that do Sky Safari, actually.
Yeah.
Kevin, something.
Just that, as David Will has pointed out a few times, that the RASC does offer training programs free of charge for RASC members.
Yeah, you have to get in there fast, as I mentioned. They fill up really fast.
And those are focused on the desktop version, yeah.
Which is
yes,
yeah, and that one is completely free for all platforms. So that is a very useful. If you have a laptop or a desktop computer, those are very useful. One thing I'm going to say that I don't think anybody's mentioned. What I like about Sky Safari is the ability to turn the camera on and see your. Where you are, and then get the projection of a background against it.
Oh, cool. So like what Wade was saying with
yeah, that's making a background, but this is
Yeah, I think it comes under the category, Randy, of augmented reality. You get a superposition of lines on top of the landscape because it's using your camera to show you the physical landscape, and then it superimposes lines on top.
So if I look across the room at where Chris is sitting over there and go up, Ursa Minor is about there.
Oh, that's good.
You've got X-ray vision.
I do. By Safari.
Superman.
Okay. I would like to hear from Lauri Roche now.
I was just going to say, just kind of pop in that that the Stellarium app shown is free, is, as everybody says, is free for your computer. But if you're going to go on your app, then it is about $12 or $13 that you pay for that. But there are a couple of other little ones. One's called Star Walk. That's a really easy. I mean, it's not it's not very professional or anything like that. But boy, if you've just got, and that's totally free. You just download it, and you can just, if you're just trying to figure out what a constellation is, it'll give it to you in no time. And you don't have to do anything really terribly much about, doing all the settings and everything like that. So if you want something really easy, and something like Skywalk or Star Walk, sorry, is this kind of a fun one.
I totally agree about what Lauri just said because with more features, increased complexity. And that's when you pay for it as well. Not only in monetary wise, but also how much you need to know to actually operate it.
Yeah. And that's why the Stellarium courses are there so that you can get the most out of it. I mean, they're wonderful, but if you want something really simple, you don't need to go to some of the more fancy ones. So, okay, so I'm just going to talk about two things. First of all, thank you to everybody who did kind of sign up for the NOVA course. We're going to be doing the course from the 13th of February to the 13th of March. And on Thursdays, for 5 straight Thursdays in a row up at the center. And we put out the call for it, and within 3 days it was completely full. So we're really in good shape here for wanting to do this. David Lee, Kirsten, and I are going to be kind of the main presenters. Chris Pearce has also said that he would help, and I've wangled Jeff Pivnik to kind of help out as well with some things. So we've got some good people to help us out with the course, and it's about half FDAO people and half RASC people. And so that's really nice to see that we've got a really nice mix of groups. And as I was telling David earlier today, most people are in the category of not like a little bit more than a beginner, but not really well, doesn't really know the sky very well, or doesn't really know the sky, and really just wants to learn a little bit more, about how to use a telescope if they've got one, and just looking for a little bit of familiarity with the sky. And I think that's really going to be kind of the important focus. It's an observer's course. This is not going to be a huge detailed thing of getting into the nitty-gritty of cosmology here. This is an observing course. So we're just getting ourselves ready to go, and we're really very happy to be able to do that. Ben, did you have a question on that?
Yeah, I was just wondering. I really wanted to sign up, but I'm going to be away for a couple of those Thursdays. It was great that it filled up so quickly. Do you think you might do it again?
Oh, I think we probably will. Not right away. It's going to take a little bit of time.
I understand that.
Definitely, yeah. We'll. I mean, we've got enough people. We've got a couple of people on the waiting list, and so I mean, I think it will do really well. So thanks everybody for helping with that. Ben, give me your information, and I'll make sure that you kind of get on the list somewhere for the next time. So
Okay, yeah, I'll
that's
email you. Thanks.
thank you. And that's then, so the other one is that came out just a couple of days ago is the formal call for the annual dinner that we're going to have. And you've heard me say this before at the 4 Mile Pub on February the 24th. People are invited to come after 6 o'clock and by 6:30 to have your dinner kind of ordered, and then dinner from kind of 7 to 8, and then some starting the program at about 8 o'clock, and we should be finished by 8:45 or 9 o'clock. So if you've not been before, the food is very nice. It will cost, I don't know, somewhere, what do you think, Margie, like $23 or something like that for a dinner, and the our center is going to pick up the cost for tea and coffee for everybody at the end. So you can certainly ask for that. Although I don't think there's really fancy frappes and all kinds of things like that. So it's kind of just regular tea and coffee. So don't order a $10, thing like that. That's gonna be a little much. Anyway, so Margie is taking the names. And so if you're considering coming, and we hope you do, because we need about 55 people. Last year we were about 58, I believe, something like that in the end. But we need about 55 people to come, and so bring spouses, friends, enemies, whoever you'd like. And I think it should be kind of a fun night to be there. Last year was the first time in about 4 years that we'd been together, as a group, and it was really, really neat to be with everybody again. So we're hoping to do that again. So
Laurie, Laurie, do you
Margie.
have a do you have a deadline for knowing the count so that we can tell the restaurant?
I think, Margie, it was the 19th. Is that right? The Wednesday before.
Okay.
But they would like to know ahead of time.
Yes. So the 19th. The 19th is the Wednesday before, and so that will give them. I mean, at the end, if we're not completely up, I mean, we know what happens within Victoria, and generally is everybody, like, at the very last minute kind of, I want to come, this kind of thing, and they'll kind of add in. But we should be able to give them a fairly firm number. I mean, if we're only at 35 people, by the 19th, then we're going to have to probably pay for the pay to have the space. So we really do want you to kind of sign up really fast. Thank you. I've got yours, Susan, and you're already on the list.
Oh, okay. I was just going to ask for Margie's email.
Oh no, I've already done that flip, so she already has your name. Yeah. So yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Is there anything else, Margie? Have I missed anything? Wear your name tag. If you've got your name tag, wear your name tag.
Have a name tag, wear your name tag. We already have about 22 people.
Oh, fantastic. Okay.
And our deadline for signing up and for which is right after that, we'll tell the restaurant. It's the same length of deadline that we had last year. So it worked just fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so everybody
have you on the screen there, Laurie. Can we hear about games night at the FD?
Oh dear, yes. Okay. So we had our annual game nights. This comes up in January every year, and this is from Amy Archer, who puts us through this hell every year to do this. Anyway, David and Kirsten and Nathan were the 3 RASC people, and then Dennis Crabtree and Alex and I were taken in to do the FDAO group, and I must admit I sat there and didn't do very much at all. It was kind of Dennis and and Alex were kind of fighting among themselves and trying to get to the thing fast, and they knew all kinds of stuff. I just sat there and just kind of let them go. And Nathan did a really good job too, right? Like Nathan was,
Yeah, he did.
really was really pretty good about doing that. So it's good. So the FDAO did kind of do it, but I must admit I had absolutely nothing to do with it whatsoever. It was all Alex and Dennis who see. I didn't even read the questions. I literally did not even have the questions read up on the screen before
Well,
the answers were already
I'll
done.
tell you, Laurie, it was really difficult because I'll paint this picture for the audience here.
Yeah, it was behind us.
The Wheel of Fortune piece where we had to actually read and Jeopardy was right behind us. So it was very difficult. We were kind of craning our necks, to actually even read it. Kirsten, could you even read them? Read the screen?
There was well, yeah, I think that's fair, David. There was two dynamics. I mean, just where we were positioned in the room, it was actually just really hard for us, the contestants, I guess, to even read the screen. And then I don't know, I'm gonna put this very diplomatically. Of course, all of this being in good fun. But we didn't even get a chance to even read, like in the Jeopardy part of it,
No.
we didn't even get a chance to read the question. What would happen is Amy would flash the question up. We'd be in the process of starting to crane our necks and look for it. And I mean, the whole thing was about the buzzer. I mean, whoever hit the buzzer first, and no names mentioned, Laurie, but somebody on the FDAO team, who kind of a crazy competitor there. I mean, it was just before, like the microsecond after it came up, bang, that the thing. I mean, I don't know. Nathan's reaction time kind of maybe a couple of times managed to beat the unnamed person, but yeah, it was. It was an interesting thing. Let's just say it was, it was interesting. It wasn't really about knowledge. It was about reaction time on the buzzer. Yeah.
Well, Kirsten, we were actually warned, I think, before we started this, that the buzzer would become an issue. So it did.
That's right. So I don't know, David, I don't know about you, but I know for me, it's going to take a different type of competitor from RASC to step forward next year to take on the FDAO beasts. And
they'll have to start training now.
I know. So I think we need a few. I think we need a few changes in rules. Anyway, I mean, the whole idea was it was fun. We had 255 people up on the hill with a waiting list of about 15 or so that didn't even get it and kept emailing right through to the very last minute. Are there any more tickets? Like trying to get
I couldn't
up on the side.
I couldn't believe the skies. Like
And
every
the
time.
skies were gorgeous.
Oh, amazing. Like every time, in between the breaks, every time I walked out onto the deck, there were just hordes of people like in a line, like in front of Brock's scope and other people that had scopes. Everybody was pointing out the planets, and it was just amazing.
And we had the 16-inch scope open. Sherry got that open, and then we said Bill had his 20-inch open, and Alex had his great big daub there, and it was just so nice. And people spent more time outside, even though it was the coldest night of the year that we had. They spent time outside because it was so lovely. And I just thank you so much to all the RASC people who put up scopes and were there and were helping. Jim Cox jumped in and did the welcome table on a moment's notice. And it was a really nice evening. And I don't remember a winter evening being as lovely as in skies as we've had out there before. Up there. So because the last 3 or 4 nights that we've had, like the 4 months that we've had, have been completely awful every time we've gone up. So this time the sky was it. So that was great.
Donna.
Yes, I wonder if someone, maybe Kirsten, but whomever, could give us an example of one of the questions. Just have a sense.
Oh,
Are
The
they
questions
having...
themselves were actually not that hard.
yeah.
I mean, there was a few difficult ones, but they were like things like um oh, now I can't even, like there was the category.
Which game are you thinking of, Kirsten?
I'm
The
thinking
first
of
one?
Jeopardy. Like there was
Jeopardy,
categories, there was
yeah.
solar system, space and exploration, planets, I think, constellations. So an example of one that I got was what's the Latin name for the constellation of twins, which is of course
Right.
what is Gemini.
Yeah.
And
And
then
you
there,
rattled off all the visible planets, so that's
yeah,
great.
Yeah.
you know,
So
so
we did.
the questions themselves were actually quite straightforward. But the challenge was actually being able to actually read it.
Yeah.
Get in there.
Now the Wheel of Fortune was probably not that difficult as well, but I won't say that it was keyed towards FDAO members in terms of their current vocabulary, not just saying, right? But things like planetary parade and Milky Way, celestial coordinates. Well, fair enough. I think a lot of them were certainly doable from our side, from our team's side. Just they hit the buzzer faster. They guessed faster, right? They just hit the buzzer, right?
Although
One of the things they
we did get
sorry.
binary star. We got binary star.
We
did.
got binary star. Yeah, exactly.
One of the things they did at the beginning was to take an image. So the first game was name that image, and what they did was black out an image, and you had to see if you could figure out what it was, and then so if you were able to tell right away, then you got 4 points, and then they would do it and only do part of the image, and you got 3 points, and then part of the image, and you got 2 points. It was kind of that, and there were a couple that were quite easy. The one that I remember getting was the Hubble space, not the Hubble, sorry, the James Webb Space Telescope, because she'd completely taken out everything except this
Right.
little wee tiny bit at the end, and there it's a very narrow little triangle at the edge of the and I knew what that one was because I could see it,
Or the
but
plastic
it was
the plastic dome. If you
yeah, the
recognize the
plastic
edge
dome
of
was there.
the edge of
Yeah,
the dome, you recognize it right away. I saw it right
yeah,
away,
yeah.
but
You
I didn't
could
hit
kind of do
the
that.
buzzer fast enough.
But
Uh,
I'd never done that kind of a game before. Anyway, you're on next year, Shona. No problem. There we go.
yep, you are.
Okay,
Anyway, it was fun.
Sounds like fun.
are you through your list, Lauri?
I am. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to take the screen now. And I haven't done a preparation for tonight, but there's a whole bunch of things that I put into the newsletter, and so I want to go through it. Some of it is important information for what's coming up, and then there's some fun also. And so everybody has this, everybody should have the Sky News, but we're going to actually go through it together. On the 22nd was Apollo 5. Chris, what is Apollo 5?
Apollo 5 was the first unmanned test flight, whether the only one like that, but the first flight of the lunar module. So they just stuck it on top of a Saturn 1B rocket, and it did a few orbits, and it did just a few maneuvers. For example, a descent stage fired, and then it was separated from the ascent stage, which fired, and just kind of a shakedown cruise. And then the next time the lunar module flew, it was a little bit over a year later on Apollo 9, again in Earth orbit, but with a crew on board, and then Apollo 10, the test flight, and Apollo 11 on the moon.
Okay, I saw that and I just didn't, it doesn't make a lot of news, the Apollo 5.
No.
Okay, Jan 27, that's today, yay. On the 28th, tomorrow, is the birthday of Johannes Hevelius. And he's the one that has this most remarkable telescope. It was the largest telescope ever built in its day. And the reason that it had to be so long is in those days, they only used a single glass lens, a singlet. And the way to avoid that rainbow thing, the chromatic aberration, was to have them almost like window glass. You didn't put a lot of curvature in, and that made it so that you didn't have as much of the chromatic aberration. And Hevelius just went crazy with this and did this 46-meter long rigid tube in order to, among other things, look at the moon. And he did a fantastic map of the moon. That's just a generation after Galileo first looked at the moon, and his map is really wonderful. And many of the features on the moon were named by Hevelius in that book. Okay, then Happy New Year. It's the year of the snake at the new moon on January 29. And
I thought the year of the snake started last week.
This is a politics-free zone. It's good.
Right. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
So on the 31st, there actually is an occultation. Like I got to see from the air over Great Britain on January, whatever that was, 5th or so. So this is one lunar month later, and Saturn hasn't moved very much. And so there's another occultation. But here, if you take a look in the evening, so after the sun sets, you see the moon, and Saturn's going to be really quite close. So about 1.5 degrees away. And, it's going to look good until the moon sets around 8 o'clock. Next week is the last Astro Cafe of February because, well, you'll see why. We'll get there. February 4 is the birth of Clyde Tombaugh, who was hired to work at the Percival, what's his name? Percival
Lowell Observatory.
Lowell. He was the person who was hired to run the observatory in Flagstaff, and he found Pluto, arguably a planet, except for a whole bunch of reasons. They stripped it of that designation, but it certainly is a big thing that goes around the sun. We'll all agree with that. Anyway, that was Clyde Tombaugh's birthday.
Okay, can I interject there?
Oh, please.
I was in my condo. I met some people up in the floor above. Their daughter was just married to this guy, and I met him and all this sort of stuff. And he was Clyde Tombaugh's grandson, just like that. And so he said his parents detest Michael Brown, the guy who demoted. So that was interesting. Sorry.
No, that's good. Apollo 14 landed in 1971. Quarter moon. Here's another good one. Jules Verne was born in 1828 and did all manner of completely wild ideas that now seem like, yeah, that makes sense. Going under the sea in a submarine. Nobody had done that, but he wrote about it, and nobody thought anybody would really fly to the moon, but he wrote about it in 1865. Okay, yeah, if we lived in Scandinavia, we would see a lovely occultation of Mars like we had earlier this month. So that is one lunation, one orbit of the moon around the Earth. It catches up with Mars again. There's been a lot of wonderful occultations, but for us, it's going to be early in the morning. We'll see Mars getting close to the moon, and then while the moon is on the other side of the Earth, that's when it actually meets up with Mars. Okay, now February 10, that is 2 weeks from today. Don't come to this room. We are not coming here in person because it is much easier to run votes online. Chris has set it up nicely. So we need at least 25 members. For as long as I've been here, we've never had trouble with quorum, but I don't count on anything. So please, please come. What happens at the AGM? Well, for legal reasons, the most important thing is we have to sign off on the annual financial statement. So the membership has to say that we are using our funds correctly. The other thing.
Oh, sorry. What time? The same
It's
time?
going to start at 7.
At 7.
And it's not super short because we do get the fun things. So the fun things, I'll talk about that, is one, the annual report where we go with images of all the fun things that we did this year. And we'll also announce the annual awards at the AGM. Okay, so let's talk a bit about that. We're not as organized as some years. I blame the past president. But we are going to go through all the images and sketches on Zenfolio. That's the place where you can put photos to share. And we're striking a committee to look at these and decide on the best astro image and the best astro sketch of the year. And so if you have done anything, any image of the sky, then and either put it in your own directory in the Zenfolio, or you can write Joe. Joe has told me that he will accept anybody's images that are emailed to Joe Carr. So that is, what is your, it's called Webmaster at
Web.
WEB at victoria.rasc.ca. And he'll put it in into the a directory, and then the committee will work on that. The only person I know on the committee right now, because I badgered her yesterday, is Kirsten. So thank you. And we're working on who else is going to work with Kirsten. But
I can actually jump in, Randy. I was corresponding with David Payne today, and David has very graciously indicated that he'll be recusing himself from that whole thing this year, and he will definitely be accompanying me on the committee, which is a huge relief.
Well, that's great, because he knows the guts of astrophotography better than anybody I know. So that's wonderful. That's super. Okay. And do we have a deadline for when photos have to be in Zenfolio, Kirsten?
I believe, well, the decision has to be made, I guess by no later than the 9th of February, at the latest. So now Joe is going to be sending out an email the deadline for the photos, what day is it today? It's the 27th. I would say should absolutely be no later than probably the end of the week, the 31st or the 1st.
Okay, so Saturday the 1st. That sounds very reasonable. And
Yeah.
we'll make sure the information gets out to the Sky News mail list. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then the other thing is elections, and while we have a slate, it doesn't mean people can't be nominated, and we can have an election. If it ends up that it is if we have only as many candidates as we have positions, then we still have to elect, but it will be just say, do you agree with this? With this, yeah, it'll be acclamation. But if you are interested, I am the committee for the election, and so contact me. And again, I've said this before, but our treasurer would prefer somebody else take the job. He's willing to do it for one last year. So if anybody is inclined to be the treasurer, we would have a very happy ex-treasurer. Okay. Full moon on the 12th. On the 15th, it's Galileo's birthday. Yay. And I love this story. I mean, he's done so many amazing things. I'm a total Galileo fan, but just the idea of looking up at the sky. I make a telescope, I see 10 times, I don't know, is it 10 times, 100 times more stars than any other human has ever seen. And then you go look the next night and 4 of them move. 4 that no human had ever seen before. And you say, oh, that's important. So it isn't just that he saw it, but he knew that it was important. And what was it? It was the Galilean moons. Not that he called them that, he called them the Medicean stars because he had to be nice to his sponsor, the Medicis. But later on, we get to call them the Galilean moons. And anybody, even with a very small telescope, just with binoculars, you look up at Jupiter and you'll see those 4 little dots, just like he saw. And they are very distinctive. And it's a wonderful thing. You look at it the next night and they will move. It's one of the awesome things. Okay. The next Monday is the 17th, and we're not going to have Astro Cafe because it is a holiday and it gives the people who run the Astro Cafe a break. So enjoy your family that day. Meanwhile, some 2,500 years ago, Anaxagora wrote about seeing an eclipse. And so we figure it was this one because there was an eclipse in 478 where he was on February 17th. But he said, how about that? That is the Earth's shadow. And I don't know if somebody else thought of it before, but he's the first one that is recorded as figuring it out, that there is the sun, the Earth, and the moon, and the Earth casts a shadow. It was like one of those amazing ahas which goes down in human history.
It's a solar eclipse, isn't it? The moon shadow?
Yeah, it's the moon shadow.
The moon shadow on the Earth. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Keep them honest.
Anyway, in beautiful apposition with the birth of Clyde Tombaugh, he actually discovered Pluto, although you don't discover a planet on one day. It's by seeing in 2 plates that there's something that's moving. But
he had enough evidence.
Yes.
He announced it on that day.
Well, I'm sorry to boast, but I met Clyde Tombaugh.
Whoa! You met Reg's neighbor's husband's grandfather.
That's
Wow!
In 1980, I went down to the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. We were talking about for the first Voyager's first encounter with Saturn, and it was just full of famous people, like Carl Sagan, Carl Sagan gave me some dirty looks because I was making some noise at the wrong time. Just before I was gonna go on TV. And but Clive Tombaugh was hanging around with Sir Patrick Moore, who a lot of us know. And
Well, just wait, he's gonna show up in the calendar.
they were good friends, and Clive Tombaugh was a tiny little guy, and he looked like that guy with the pitchfork in the painting, you know. You know, like he had his pants hiked up to here. And I wish I had taken a picture. I didn't. Yeah.
But good. Okay, another hero of mine, of everybody's, I bet. Copernicus, born in 1473. And, you know, when I wrote this up, I was trying to think, how do I summarize Copernicus in just a few
Where
words?
would we be without Copernicus?
Where would we be? Anyway, he had the courage and the smarts to say that the sun, in fact, was in the middle, for kind of complicated reasons. And has anybody read the book called The Book That Nobody Read?
Didn't read it.
It's a fantastic book. I should do a book review of it. One of my favorite books I've ever read. Okay.
Oh,
but
I thought that was the book that Stephen Hawking wrote, you know. Everybody bought it, but nobody read it.
Well, what this guy did, I forget his name, but he just died. He was a professor at Harvard, and this was for the it was for 1973, the 500th anniversary of his birth, and somebody said that the book De Revolutionibus is the book that nobody read. But he was looking at a copy of it and he saw somebody was writing marginalia. You know, he was writing in the margin. And then he said, well, I guess at least one person read the book. And then for the next 30 years, he went around the world photographing all the copies, the original copies of Copernicus's book. And especially noting the marginalia, the things that people wrote. And it's just a ripping great tale. Huh. But lots of people read the book. That's the punchline.
Yeah. Owen Gingerich.
Owen Gingerich, absolutely. From Harvard. And he just died this year. Huh. Okay. John Glenn orbited the Earth in February 20, 1962. You going to tell us any story about that, Chris?
Oh, well, of course, he was the first American to orbit the Earth, and went on to a career in politics. And then, just as he was about to retire, when he was age 78, he went into space aboard the shuttle Discovery. And actually, it's not very well known about that shuttle mission. It did not go to Hubble, that mission, but it was actually testing a lot of equipment for Hubble. So you will see something about that mission in my book about Hubble.
Oh,
so but the closest I came to meeting him was he was on the floor of the Senate one day when I took the tour.
Okay, so we have already had a notice, but let's, you learn by repetition. You have to sign up with Margie if you are planning to go to our social evening at the 4 Mile Brew Club. But again, no Astro Cafe. So next week is the last Astro Cafe of February.
The first and the last.
The first and the last. Okay, so I went into March because, well, Patrick Moore, who just got mentioned, the amazing amateur astronomer from Britain, was born. But this is what I really wanted to talk about. Oh, well, no, there is. Here we go. Kirsten, do you want to talk about Tess Grindley?
Yeah. There is no meeting in February for obvious reasons. So our next monthly RASC meeting is up at the university is going to be in March. So the second Wednesday in March, March the 12th, and Tess Grindley, she is a university student in, I think, her fifth year in astronomy and physics, and she will be giving a presentation to us on the Europa Clipper mission. I saw it previously up at the Center of the Universe just a couple of days, actually, or about a week after the Clipper launched. And it's a great presentation. Like, there's some awesome visuals and some really interesting information about Europa and Jupiter and the Clipper. So yeah, should be a really good one.
Excellent. Thank you. And this is what I wanted to bring up. So I have been waiting for years, because I think the last good eclipse for our part of the world was like 2021, and it of course got clouded out. But here we have one in the early evening, and I have this project, and I really would like help with it. There is a set of measurements that have been done for now about 200 years, but we still are having trouble understanding it. So when you take a look at when the Earth's shadow, first of all, covers over various craters on the moon's surface and then comes off, you can do what's called crater timing. And you can understand how by doing that, you can see how big the Earth is, right? Because you know where the Earth is with respect to the moon. And so by looking at where the shadows is, what time they come in, then you should be able to figure out what part of the Earth is causing that shadow. And it turns out, and this has been recognized for 200 years, that the Earth's shadow is about 80 kilometers bigger than the solid Earth. Okay, it seems that the atmosphere is obscuring some of the light, and that's way above where the clouds are. And it's still like there's all sorts of theories about it. And a lot of people think it's just an optical illusion. Some people think it's the clouds. Some people, I mean, whatever. But Sky and Telescope sometimes do these campaigns trying to get people around the world to do these measurements. And I think if it's a clear night, and of course it's going to be a clear night on March 13th, right? So that's a Thursday night. Everybody's bored on a Thursday night. Nothing's happening. So I want everybody with their telescopes and with the app that goes beep, beep, beep each second. I can, I'll do a talk about this later on, but I just wanted to get everybody ready that they have to put in their calendar that they have to get their telescope out and be ready to spend the evening with the eclipse that night. Okay? And that is what I'm going to end with.
Is that the Nova course on that night?
Oh dear, do you have a Nova the course that night? Oh.
Well, the way it goes.
Well,
it's okay because our Nova course is from 7 to 9.
Oh yeah, we could stay up there.
We'll, there could be some people who could certainly be there for that part. But we could have some very sleepy people by full eclipse. Yeah. However, there could be some people who might stay up. Yes.
But we could do an event up there.
Randy, did you want to just do this purely visually, or did you want it recorded in some fashion?
Because we're trying to see the timeline over the last 200 years, The real trick is eyeball in the telescope. But I'm also very interested. It really depends. Cameras see it differently. And
Well,
so
we could do both. I could leave
absolutely,
one running, and we could just do it visually too.
absolutely. There's a whole bunch about this, and it's really important now because now, like with the James Webb, they are looking at the planets in front of stars to work out what the atmosphere is made out of. And so there's a whole new impetus to do this sort of work with fancy spectroscopes because we use the moon as a mirror, right? So the sun, the light goes through the Earth's atmosphere, bounces off the moon, and then comes back. And so they're doing some very, very detailed spectroscopy with to do with our local situation what they're trying to do with these exoplanets. So it's even relevant what we're doing. Okay? There we go. Anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about tonight. Natasha said she wanted to do something at the end. Is there anybody else before Natasha? You
Does
get the show.
does Chris have any space news? Space exploration type news?
Not nothing really exciting. I had a few things last week, and some of them involve the arrival of the Trump administration, but the new administrator of NASA hasn't taken over yet, and so I don't have that much to say. I think I mentioned last week that there's some anxiety around the budget for the Hubble, that there's people who want to cut it. And then I saw the other day that they're worried about the budget for the James Webb Space Telescope. But anyway, I don't think if they cut them, it won't be very big. And actually, the new administrator of NASA is something of a fan of certainly Hubble, and he must be of James Webb. So we'll see. But there's not much this week. But I think there'll be some as time moves ahead. We have 2 probes on the way to the moon that were launched a couple of weeks ago that I talked about. And I know that there's another one going up. I can't remember if it's February or March. So there's going to be some action at the moon.
Cool. Okay, Shauna.
Yes, thank you. I just had a question that perhaps someone could take up next week, not tonight. But the new person from Campbell River brought it to mind when they said they worked as an astronomer for a year. I would be interested if anyone felt qualified to discuss this. If there are people working as professional astronomers outside of academic posts, like because we all, I think, define ourselves as amateurs, is that right? So
I think that's safe.
Well,
comes.
Professional. So I would like to hear, in part, to know who you all are too. So
okay, for future consideration. Very good. Natasha, you get to close off the show. But you're still muted. Still muted. Oh dear.
We can't hear you.
you're muted, Natasha.
I know. She says, I can read her lips.
Read my lips. No.
Natasha, you can just hit the space bar and that will allow you to speak. You have to hold down the space bar.
Oh, there we go.
There you go.
There we go. Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, I'm just going to share my screen, although I could probably also just show this to you because there's a very poor photograph of a beautiful ruler that I picked up, I'm sure at an International Astronomy Day, maybe 7 years ago. And it's a great public outreach tool. It's 30 centimeters and 12-inch ruler. And this is really a question I could have asked later of Lauri. For the upcoming International Astronomy Day, I'm wondering if you are looking for what we used to call swag, and whether that might be something that is still available.
Was it a ruler that came from the National Research Council?
It's from Skywatcher.
Can you show it to us?
Yes, now I'm trying to, I don't know what's going on. Now I'm trying to actually stop sharing. This is crazy. I mean, I've done Zoom about 1 million times in the past 10 years, but something's happening. Anyways, I do have the actual ruler, and it's a very jet black glossy. It's very attractive. And they say this is probably 6 or 7 years old, but it's very sturdy.
Hold it up and to the camera.
But I can't stop sharing.
No, you're not sharing.
Oh, hello, everyone. Can you see it?
Yeah. Yep. Yes.
Oh, yes. I remember seeing something like that. We haven't had any of them around for years now.
Okay, that's too bad because it's great, for International Astronomy Day. I used to get stuff from SPE when I was doing International Day of Light.
Yes.
And they had some great swag and some very, very good posters, but I contacted them just last week. And unfortunately, they're not able to, they've had budget cuts too. But anyways.
Yeah, I haven't done anything with International Astronomy Day to ask about any swag or anything at all like that. So maybe we could look into it, Randy. We could
after
check it out and see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dust settle first.
There's going to be a little bit of dust settling, and then we'll get onto that one.
Yeah, it's a good idea because people love to take home things, like for sure. Yeah.
And that's
I only mention it now because I know how long it takes to get these things.
Yeah.
So with that, I want to say it's so nice to have so many people in person, and we get the cookies, you guys. So come on down. Way more fun. And we will see you next week here. I don't know who's going to share. I'll cajole somebody. Okay. Goodbye, everybody.
Okay. Bye, everybody.